So, this week we talk about that assessment and evaluation. Okay. So, title of this week whole week we will talk about assessment and evaluation and test item analysis. And the next week, after this 5th week, we will talk about the attainment of your CO, PO and PO, all those things. So, assessment and evaluation. So, if I ask you, if just close your eyes and think what is assessment and what is evaluation. So, do not see the slide first, I will recommend you do not see the slides, close your eyes and think about. There is two terminology, one is called assessment, another is called evaluation. What is assessment and what is evaluation? So, what is assessment? What I can say about the assessment? So, it is said that assessment is the process for gathering data about students' competence. So, assessment is a process for collecting evidence or collecting data about students' competence. Then what is evaluation? Now, evaluation is based on the assessed data or based on the collected data during the assessment, when you quantify the attainment level or competence level of the students, that is called evaluation. So, for example, so assessment is the process for gathering data about student competence. Example, end-sem, mid-sem, quiz, class test, assignment, project, viva, seminar, all are the process for gathering data are called assessment. Now, when I say evaluation, so evaluation, whatever the data I am collected during the assessment, based on that data, when I quantify that students' attainment level or when I quantify the students' competence, let us you get grade A, that your competence is above 80%. So, that process is called as evaluation. So, it is not that how much okay. So, I have marks okay, mid semester you got out of 30 you got 10, end semester out of got this, so your grade is like this, not that. So, where it is, how you evaluate, how do you interpret the assessed data, that will depends on how you collect the assessment and what kind of evaluation you want to make. So, in definition I can say assessment is the process and evaluation is the quantification of the collected data. So, in a conclusion what I can say, evaluation is the end and assessment are the means. So, if you see this slide what I written, evaluation assessment data quantified for each students for all relevant assessment. If necessary, there may be a data normalization, there may be a different kind of assessment test, value judgment based criteria, norm reference, all kinds of things I can make. But assessment are the finding out the student competence. Okay. Process for finding out the student's competence. You may say, okay sir, we have designed a question paper. So, if I ask you that why you take the test, or in a layman's things, forget about the assessment and evaluation. If I ask you why we take examination, what is the purpose for examination? Examination means assessment. So, why we assess? To find out the student's competence, to find out the evidence of the student's competence. So, assessment and evaluation, when we say, there is a lot of issue is evolved. What kind of assessment? When should I take? So, lot of assessment and evaluation issues are there. What are those issues? First one is, how can we reliably measure grade and certify outcomes at different domains and levels of learning? What I said? Reliably measure the grade. Today, can I say a student got EX? The grade is reliable. Reliable means, is there is a correlation between his or her skill and the marks or grade he obtained? Somebody get 80 marks in a subject. Can I certify or can I ensure that reliability of that grade? Or can I ensure the student's skill level or learner skill also in 80% cases? So, how do we reliably measure the grade? Details I will discuss during that reliability and validity of the assessment. So, how do you reliably measure the grade? Then we talk assessment, that is come from the evaluation point of view, reliability of the evaluation and validity of the evaluation. Now, come to the assessment. You said, okay, you have to take 2 class tests, 1 mid-sem and 1 end-sem. Why? Can you justify? Why should I take only 2 class tests? Why should there will be a 1 mid-sem exam and why should there will be a 1 end-sem exam? Is the outcome which I define or the attainment which I want to measure are measurable in 3-hour exam? So, what kind of assessment? When should I take the assessment? What kind of, how much assessment? How much I should assess? What kind of complex problem I can given in the assessment? How we take the assessment? Whether it will be a proctored exam, whether it will be a computer based exam, how do I decide that? Once I assess, then the gathered result, the data which I get from the assessment, what kind of interpretation or how do I use those results for evaluation and for enhancement of teaching and learning? So, those are the issue. So, it is not mandatory that I have to take 2 class tests, 1 mid-sem, 1 end-sem. May not be my course outcome which I set is not measurable or not assessed in the mid-sem and end-sem exam. So, that is not bounded by 3 hours, that may require 5 days programming or maybe entire semesters. So, what kind of assessment I should take, when I should take the assessment, how I should take the assessment, how much I should assess, what the interpretation of the assessed data, all are the issues. Then what are the different function of assessment? You said class test. Can I ask you, what is the use of class test? Why should I take class test? What is the purpose for the assessment? That is the purpose. I take mid-sem. If I told you, define the purpose of mid-sem exam, why I take mid-sem exam? You said no, there will be a comprehensive viva. So, what is the function of the assessment? There is another question. You take a lab viva. After the lab session is over, there will be a viva of the students. Why I take that viva? So, the function of assessment is very important in teaching learning. Then how can you ensure validity and reliability of the assessment? You design, oh, this year I will design a question paper, nobody can answer. Oh, this year, okay. Student said, oh, that teacher give a question paper which can be answered by half an hour. Maximum time, if you ask the fourth year comprehensive Viva, if you ask the student one question, sir, I have read it but forgot it. So, they are able to answer your questions during the exam, but after the exam they completely forgot it. Then what is the reliability of your assessment? So, how do you ensure the reliability and validity of the assessment? Many times students say, oh, this question is out of the syllabus. What do you mean by out of the syllabus? Oh, this question is very difficult. University said, please set a question paper that is 20% from recall memory, 30% from assignment, 2% from 50% from this. Why? So, the purpose of the assessment is providing marks to the students. Think about if a student fail, what does it mean? Today, if you say out of this validity, case of validity, that if a student can get a 80% marks, but if you ask him some simple skill type of question, or you can ensure that yes, if a student got 80% marks, that means 80% of the course outcome he or she achieved. Can I ensure that? Many university has a question paper setter instruction, please answer any 5 out of 8. Now, think about the situation. So, those 8 questions, out of 8 questions I have to answer any 5. Okay? So, let us 8 questions cover the 100% syllabus. So, I have to answer any 5. So, 5 by 8% of the syllabus I only have to know. So, knowing only 70% of the syllabus or 70% of the competence, I can be evaluate as a 100% competence man. Then, what is the pass mark? Oh, 30%. So, how much syllabus or how much competence I have acquired? Only 21% competence I have acquired, and I am promoting in the next class. Think about a situation. Suppose if I am giving the example from again electronics side, because my background is electronics. So, suppose a students have question paper is designed this way. Now, a students pass analog electronics, that means he only know 21% skill of the analog electronics. He promoted to the VLSI design. Are you ensure that students will capable of doing VLSI design? So, who is deprived? So, we are saying that, oh, pass, you fail. What is the meaning? So, you have to define that you have to ensure the learning is happened. That is the purpose for assessment. So, how can I ensure the validity and reliability? What are the kinds of interpretation we can make from the assessment? Suppose I design a question paper and I found at some questions 80% of the students fail to answer. Then as a teacher, what kind of interpretation I should make from that question? How many of us, the teachers, I am asking from the teachers, after providing marks on the answer script, revisit the answer script and find out the student's problem? Nobody has done that. So, then why I take the examination? To provide marks? Think about that. Your doctor said, test your blood for blood sugar, and you go to the laboratory and find out your blood sugar is 320, and you never shown to the doctors, or the test report is not shown to you. So, unless you shown to the doctors the report, doctor prescribe the medicine, means change happen, the loop is not completed. So, if I assign, if an assessment I found the most of the student has a particular misconception exist, unless I provide them the remedial lessons, close the feedback loop, then why should I teaching? So, what kind of interpretation I can make from the assessment? How can we make good assessment plan? There will be 2 class tests. Why there is a 2 class test? Why not there is a n number of class tests? Why there will be 2 exam? Suppose you have written a course outcome where one outcome is written that design this filter using MATLAB program. How can I test in end-sem and mid-sem? Unless I provide a assignment or a mini project to the students, can I take that CO? So, how do I make the assessment plan for find out the attainment of a particular CO, what kind of assessment I have to make? Then there is some important statistical tools or some statistics has to be calculated. Sometimes we say, oh, this question is very easy, oh, this question is very difficult. Why this question is very easy? On the what basis you said that? This question is very difficult. In the what basis you have said that? And you design a MCQ questions, why there will be a 4th choice? And you design a MCQ question, you found there is one choice, nobody have chose that choice, then what is the role of that choice? So, all kinds of things has to be known, those are the issues related to the assessment and evaluation. So, in this lecture I will discuss one by one those issues, and whatever that issues I will cover, that you can see that some kind of clarity I want to give you, that okay, this issue how do you overcome. Okay. So, it is not exactly not in depth all that is not possible. So, I will show you how this kind of plan, assessment and evaluation plan can be done and how this kind of issues can be resolved. Okay. So, let us go for that next part. So, what I said, outcome based education. If I integrated that assessment and evaluation with outcome based education, what should be? It would look like this. So, impact of examination system on teaching and learning, I am saying, or impact of the examination assessment, examination means assessment system has a role to improve the teaching learning, to improve the student engagement. If you see that if I design a question paper which can be answered just study one day, then why you expect the student will be read for entire semesters? You have given, write a short note on this, write 3 difference between these things, explain this thing, describe this thing. How much engagement is required? Any student can say, okay sir, before exam one day study is sufficient. Then how do you think they will be engaged in the education? So, what kind of assessment I should take? It is not that arbitrary, there is a plan, there is a pure scientific manner I can design the assessment to ensure student engagement, to reliable, validate measure of the grade, to increase that teaching learning effectiveness. So, all are importance in or all are impacted by assessment and evaluation. So, in my opinion, if you see this is the structures, what to assess? 2 kind. Think about, forget about this part, just think about this part. What to assess? Whether student attain that intended outcomes or not. So, the purpose of assessment is to collect evidence about the student competence. So, what I want to say? Suppose in a course I write 3 or 5 outcome, 5 CO. So, whatever the assessment I design, it may be a end sem, it may be a mid sem, it may be a project, it may be an assignment. So, all has to be designed to test those 5 CO. Whether they attend that COs or not. That is my target, to find out the students' competence on those CO. So, since those CO is the criteria for assessment, then my purpose is here criteria based assessment. There is a 2 kinds of assessment. One is called norm reference assessment, another one is called criteria based assessment. So, what are the criteria? Criteria is the course outcome. Then I design the assessment. It is not only the mid sem and end sem. It may be a mid sem, end sem, project, mini project, assignment, all. Why I said that? There may be a one CO or maybe a CO which cannot be measured or which cannot be assessed by 3 hours or 2 hours of examination, which may require students should implement a project, or it may require 1 month, students should solve that problem during 1 month. So, it is not that lab component only use modern tools or uses, course also include that. So, based on the CO, you pick up the assessment plan. Okay, this CO will be tested on mid sem, this CO will be tested on end sem, this CO will be tested on project, this CO will be tested on assignment. You collect all those assignment data. So, out of all assignment data, if students attend that particular CO, then you assign CO and assign the grade. Suppose you found that from all data, a student attend 5 out of 5 CO. So, attainment level is 100%. Then I can say assign grade EX. A student attend only 3 CO. So, 3 by 5 is the attainment level. I can assign grade. Even you can also change the weight vector of each CO. Suppose I write 5 CO and I say CO number 1, based on the complexity CO number 1 weight vector is 1, and CO number 2 and 3 all are weight vector 2 and 2. So, you can find out the weightage of the marks or weightage of the grade based on the complexity of the CO also. Then you have to find out the total weight at the weight attained by the students divided by the total weight. So, if it is 1, I can say the CO1 assigned to weight vector 0.2, CO2 assigned to 0.4, CO3 assigned to let us 0.3. So, like that way, and total weight will be 1, and then I can calculate the attainment level and assign the grade. Because in Washington records or NBA guidelines, there is only 2 dimensions that a CO can change. One is cognitive level, another is a complex engineering problem. So, I can write 5 CO, based on the complexity of the CO, I can assign an weight vector and I can assign the student competence. Okay? And or directly I can say all are equal weight, I can calculate the student's competence. I assign the grade. Now, I take an examination, I found 80% of the students does not achieve an attainment, let us CO number 2. 80% of the students fail to achieve CO number 2. So, what I should do? After collecting the assignment data, providing the marks, I am analyzing the assessed data. Now, after the examination, after providing the marks, I am analyzing their answer script and find out 80% of the students are not able to achieve CO number 2. What is the meaning? Meaning is that either the CO2 is not achievable, or the teaching learning process which I am following is not perfect for achieving CO2. So, that is the feedback received by as a teachers. So, that is called evaluate the effectiveness of instruction. So, the teaching learning process which I am following is not correct for achieve CO2. So, that next batch I should not continue the same mistakes, I correct my teaching learning process. Next one is that the CO2 is written such a way that which is not achievable. So, I correct that. So, that is the feedback loop, that is called reinforcement of teaching and learning. Clear? Next one is periodic assessment. Suppose I found 80% of the students are not achieve CO2, but correction is not possible, because that student time is gone, they are promoted to the next class. So, to avoid this kind of situation, the CRS, classroom response systems, or periodic assessment is also part of the teaching learning process. So, what is the purpose for periodic assessment? Suppose this week I cover a concept. So, every concept has a possible misconception. Some of the students have some misconception. So, purpose of the periodic assessment is to find out those misconceptions and provide remedial lessons. So, purpose of periodic assessment, which is called formative assessment, is to find out the students' misconception and provide remedial lessons. Since you are providing remedial lessons, these data should not be used for evaluation. The purpose of this assessment is to find out the student misconception and provide remedial lessons. So, this is not part of the grading. Unfortunately, most of the cases class test is also part of grading. But what is the purpose of the class test? Purpose of the class test is called periodic assessment. Class test, class quiz, all are called periodic assessment. Purpose is to provide remedial lesson, find out the misconception and provide remedial lessons. So, class test cannot be part of my evaluation weightage. I am not testing the student attainment of CO by class test. By class test, I am only find out which student has what kind of misconception, and for that students I have to provide a remedial lessons, that you have this kind of misconception and this is the remedial lessons for you which can remove the misconception. See, the teacher has a lot of job instead of teaching. Most of the cases, what we will do in class? Oh, this year I will design a class test questions. Most of the students will get 2 or 3 out of 15. So, I have taken a class test, come in the class, give in the paper or write down the question in the blackboard. Oh, you got out of 15, 7, you got 0, you got 3. What is the purpose? Purpose is not that. Your questions must be related to the concept you have conveyed during the class. And you have to find out, based on that question, you have to identifying the misconception of the students. So, it is not that, oh, tomorrow I have a class test or design, write down this question, not that. A purposefully plan, you have a proper planning for design class test question, so that you can find out the misconception. It is not that one fine morning you come in the class, tomorrow you have a class test and you have designed a question, there is no correlation, not that. And class test cannot be part of the evaluation system if it consists of remedial lessons. Okay? So, this is the total assessment and evaluation procedure which integrated part of the outcome based learning. If you see in our framework, we have said every outcome must be related to a assignment, so that student can test whether he achieved that outcomes or not. That is called self learning. Here I am testing the students to certify them of their competence. That is why assessment is criteria based. And formative assessment, which is called periodic assessment, purpose is to provide feedback to the students. So, designing a class test question is not that easy job. Once fine morning or design the class test question, after class test you got 2, you got 3, you got 5, not that is the purpose. Purpose is, it is not that, okay, for every subject, every semester you have a 2 class test, not limited the number. It depends on that how you plan your teaching learning. This week you cover a concept, you want to test the misconception of the students, you can take the class test after that coverage. Next week, maybe you said, okay, this concept I cover next 2 weeks. So, end of that 2 week, you take a class test. It is not mandatory, there is a 2 class test, 1 assignment, it is never mandatory. It depends on your CO, it depends on your teaching and learning. Whether your subject will be have assignment, whether your subject will be have a project, whether your subject will be take a 3-hour exam in NSEM, 2-hour exam in that, all are depends on how you write your CO. Class test, it depends on what is your planning of teaching and learning. It is not depend that, okay, there will be 2 class tests only. It is not, it is not, there is nothing called fixed number. It depends on how many concepts you cover in the lectures and how many concept misconception you want to judge from the students and provide remedial lessons. But it is very important, at the end of the exam, you should find out, or end of the academic, you can say the semester, you should be able to find out the attainment of the students' competence level, and design as a teacher you should take a feedback, what kind of modification, what teaching learning and your outcome has to be made. That should be very much clear. That is the basic role of the teachers. So, basic purpose for examination, in a nutshell I can say, to reinforce the teaching and learning. It is not provide to the marks to the students. Marks to the students is a secondary issue. First issue is reinforcement of teaching and learning. Okay? If you see the slides, slides also written same thing, whatever I have covered, the factor innovating assessment, tendency of the teacher. I am not reading the slides, you can read the slides, but philosophy, what I said is that philosophy, and based on that philosophy these 5 slides are also written. So, next class I will talk about formative assessment and summative assessment. Okay? Thank you.